YouTube. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to disassemble and inspect an accordion. Now obviously not all accordions are assembled and constructed this way, but this is the most common way. I'm not familiar with newer ones at all, so I can't speak for those, but for most of the accordions you'll find out there, this is the way that they're put together and this is how they come apart. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is, just like I've got my accordion set here, you want to stand it up on its feet. That's normally how you would, if you don't already know, normally how you would store your accordion if you're not obviously playing it. Whenever you aren't playing it, this is exactly how it should be. Whether it's in a case or covered or something, but this is the way it's intended to be. It should be standing up on its feet like this. But for what we're doing here, that's what we want to do anyway. So when you've got your accordion standing up like that, obviously your treble side is up, your bass side is down, your bellows are in the middle. And you've got these escutcheon pins here. I don't know how well they show up on the camera, but we'll pull them out here in a second and then it'll be obvious. These pins go around the perimeter of the bellows and they go in perpendicular to the bellows. You can see them here too. They go all the way around. Now, you usually have some straps that hold your bellows shut. We're going to have to unstrap those. And then I'm going to pull out those pins. And it's easy enough to do this with a cheap slip joint pliers. This is the cheapest of the cheap. It's a real piece of junk, and I'm using it on purpose to demonstrate that you don't need any special tools to do this. Now, the key here when you're pulling out these pins is just be careful. You want to have a good grip on them, and you don't want to scratch your accordion. You want to pull straight out. A little bit of twisting sometimes, but they should pull right out. And this one's a little bit tight, which is unusual. It may be in the wrong spot. And what I want to say about that is, and here's the pin. Now the light on this camera is a little bit obnoxious here. See if I can shadow it a little bit. And now the camera will not focus. But what I'm trying to show here is the profile of these pins are designed so that you can get a tool on them to pull them out. And I'm sure that there's a special tool for this. I don't have one, I don't think, and you don't need one. You can use a pliers just like I'm doing here. But what I want to say about the tension is note how much tension there is when you pull them out. Because if you put them back in the wrong hole, sometimes they'll be too tight or too loose. This one feels a little bit more normal to me. So does that one. Now I've got the 3 out of the front here, and on this particular accordion there's only 6. Pull out the other 3 here. And at this point, the treble half should lift right off of the bellows. It may be a little stuck, but it's not attached anymore at all, and so unsticking it is not going to damage anything. And of course the bellows will probably want to come off. Come up with the treble half here. But there we go. There's the treble half of the accordion. And I'll go over what you're going to be looking at here after I finish this assembly. I'm going to set that aside. And now you can see the base, innards of the base half. But I'm going to remove the bellows. The same goes for the base side. You have these pins, and like my accordion has, you're probably going to have the same number of pins. At some point in the past, somebody lost one of my pins. And someone made some kind of pin out of a nail or something. It works. I'm not going to try to keep these pins with the hole they came out of. I'll put them back in by feel. If they feel too loose or too tight, they're going in the wrong hole. Okay, all the pins are out. I can pull the bellows off. One thing you do want to do here, I should say, is make sure that you don't disorient the bellows. I've got the bass buttons facing towards the camera here. I'm going to pull the bellows off and set them down that same way and make sure I put them on again the same way. Now the accordion is disassembled as you're going to want to disassemble it. There is more stuff you can take apart, but you don't need to do that for our purposes here. And what you're going to be looking at, the condition of your wax. Now you can see that I have re-waxed this. It obviously doesn't look like a professional did it. And in a minute here, I will go grab my soldering iron so you can see how to do that. I'm not going to do any re-waxing here, but I will at least show how I did it and how you can do it. It's easy enough to do. I have no idea what it costs to have somebody do this, but whatever it is, it's out of my budget. One of the things you're looking for is cracked wax. I can't show you that because none of my wax is cracked, but typically what you'll see here along the edges of the reeds, you'll see gaps, hairline gaps in the wax, which is causing an air leak. Another thing you'll be looking for is loose leather like this. This is not good. I have not had time to re-leather this accordion, and quite frankly, I'm not too concerned about that at this point. It plays okay for what I need it for right now, but all of these leathers need to be replaced, and that's something you're going to want to look for. Some of these leathers you can see here have springs. They're plastic. They're springs that are supposed to hold the leather against the reed. And when you replace the leathers, that has to be taken into account here. You can see them better. And frankly, this is not really something you want to be doing unless you really have time and patience and skill. You know, sealing up the wax a little bit is probably something you could do at home, but re-leathering is kind of getting to the point where you want to have somebody else do it. And here I have the treble side again. You can see I've got loose leathers on the treble side as well. This is really not a good thing, but like I say, for my purposes, it's adequate the way it is. I'm not in a position right now to be dealing with that. And here's the soldering iron that I used to re-wax this accordion. This is a Weller pencil. It's there we go, PES 51. But that's not critical. You could use a cheap $10 soldering iron to do this job. You don't need precise temperature control or anything. It's nice to have, but not actually necessary. And it's just a matter of running the iron along the cracks and resealing the cracks. Something that's nice to have, it's not exactly necessary, is some extra wax. You can buy reed wax, and I'd like to tell you exactly what reed wax is, but I'll probably forget and get it wrong here, so I won't. You can get this and other supplies for your accordion from Ernest Defner. That's where I got this from. and I think you can read that on there. I'm not sure how well that's showing up on the camera. Not only parts and supplies, but documentation and other things I believe they sell, and sheet music, I think. I don't exactly recall. But there you go. That's how you deal with the wax. Obviously, when you have this apart, if there's any reeds that have completely fallen out of place, which is pretty common, they're going to be loose inside of there. And whatever you do, don't leave them like that. If somebody should play the accordion with a loose reed inside of there, it's very possible to damage the bellows. And once you've damaged the bellows on an accordion like this, the accordion is not really worth fixing anymore. Bellows can get very expensive, to the point where you're better off buying another similar accordion in most cases. And now, I should also mention, if you have work done, you're probably going to want to have your accordion retuned. And you can see how they tune the reeds here. They put these little scratches in them that actually changes the tuning of the reeds depending on where you put the scratch. I don't know how well you can see that on these, but some of them, they look like they're filed. They do that. They file them, they scratch them. That's what adjusts the tuning on the reeds. It's a very involved process, not really something you want to do at home if you've never done it before. If you do want to play around with that, you probably want to get a junk accordion to try it out on. The reeds have to be tuned in place, and they do make special tuning tools for scratching the back side of reeds while they're installed. I have no experience doing that. It's tempting, though, to take a reed out and tune it and put it back in, but you really can't do that. The reed depends on the entire assembly of the accordion to sound the way it does. And another thing you really don't want to do, if you're testing a reed or tuning it or whatever, it's very tempting to take these blocks out, and there's holes in the back of here. It's very tempting to play this like a harmonica and blow air through the reeds. And that's a really bad thing to do. That will cause your reeds to rust. Now you might say, why do these reeds rust? Reed organ reeds don't rust. And the reason is these are steel. Reed organ reeds are brass, and accordion reeds are steel. And the reason they're steel is because steel is lighter than brass. You need to save every bit of weight you can in an accordion. So anyway, if you do need to put air through there, assemble the accordion and use the bellows. Use some kind of air blower or something. Don't use your breath, because your breath hopefully has significant humidity in it and will rust your reeds, and obviously you don't want that to happen. It affects tuning, and it's just a bad thing overall. And now, not to make this video too boring, but I'll go ahead and reassemble the accordion. Now, I said before I had the buttons facing the camera, and I set down the bellows the same way, so I'm going to put them back on the same way. And I'm not going to use my pliers until I get my pins in place. And I'm going to check for fit. If the fit is tight or loose, you've got the pin in the wrong hole. And you really need to put it in a different one. And I'm going to use my fingers to push the pin in. If I can push the pin in all the way with my fingers, I'm not going to mess with any tools. Much safer this way. And again, on every pin, you're going to want to check the fit as you put it in. If it's too tight, pull it out. If it's too loose, don't put it in. It really belongs in a different hole. I don't know if pin diameters vary over the years, or if they were made intentionally to fit the holes. That one's very tight. But the wood will obviously change over the years. So if somebody put in different pins for that reason, I have no idea. But I do know on every accordion I've disassembled, different pins fit in different places. This one here is too loose. It's not loose enough that it's going to fall out, but it's clearly looser than the one that was in there before. This one's too tight. Now, if you want, I'm probably mangling these pins a little bit with my pliers, but frankly, I'm not too concerned about that. If you wanted to, you could get pliers with rubber grips, or maybe put some plastic dip on these so that you're not doing that. There we go, that's the right pin for that hole. Now, very important here, it's not, it should be obvious, but it's not. You want to put your accordion together the right way. It could be very problematic to put your treble on opposite from your bass, but it's one of those things it's easy enough to do. My straps came unsnapped here. Put that back on. And the same thing, just put the pins in one at a time. Check the fit. This one here is way too loose. Too loose there too. So obviously this pin is sized for a tight hole. That one fits good. That one fits good. Might be off the view of the camera here. And there we go. Make sure before you pick your accordion up that you reattach your straps so that you don't do that. Something I like to tell people: if you have acquired an old accordion, or you just have one that you've had for a long time, it's a really good idea to replace the straps. They're not cost prohibitive. You can find straps that are more comfortable to use than the ones that were on there. And when you use old straps, you run the risk of dropping your accordion. The straps break at the worst times, and the last thing in the world you want to have happen is your accordion go crashing to the floor. But there you have it. There's lots of repairs that you can do. Something I really should do to this one is re-level the keys. That's a whole different matter. That involves taking the outsides here apart, but it's doable. My register change switch is tight, and that's something I need to address too. But that's the basic inspection you want to do when you acquire an accordion. Or like I say, if you've had one sitting around for a long time. So hopefully this video was helpful. If so, please hit the like button, and if you don't mind, subscribe to my channel. I do appreciate that. YouTube is not, I don't think, making any money off of my channel, and they have said that they're going to be deleting channels that aren't making money, so theoretically they could do that to me any day. So the more subscribers I get, the less likely I think that is to happen. But I do appreciate you watching, and again, if you do subscribe, I greatly appreciate that too. So there you go. If there's anything else you'd like to know, please let me know in the comments. If anything that I do here that you see is clearly wrong, please do that too. I can address that. And hopefully I haven't lost too many people here at 20 and a half minutes.